Back to my channel. This is News and Politics Week again, and here we got U.S. versus U.S. and Venezuela conflict, part 2. So there's been some things that have happened, like as far as we've been getting into it, like Maduro has been captured and his wife, which was I forgot the proper term, but which was the leaders of Venezuela. And I think it's been a couple more oil tankers that has been seized too. And so we about to get into it. We about to get the news side. Then I'm finna give y'all the Venezuela civilians. I'm finna give y'all they side, the ones that's with Maduro getting captured, and then the ones that's against it. So, and I'm finna give you the President Trump side. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Morning already, as we learned just a matter of hours ago that the U.S., according to President Trump, launched a large-scale strike on Venezuela, attacking the capital city of Caracas and several nearby areas. President Trump posting on Truth Social at about 4:30 this morning, announcing those strikes and also revealing that the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife had been captured by the U.S. forces and flown out of the country.
President Trump also saying that he will hold a news conference in just a few hours where we assume he will share more details about the strikes and what should happen next.
It all punctuates what has been a dramatic series of months. The president with warnings and threats all directed at Maduro and his regime. We have full coverage this morning. We begin with NBC's Julie Sirkin. She is traveling with the president. He is at Mar-a-Lago. She is nearby. Julie, good morning.
Peter and Laura, good morning to you. A dramatic moment now as the U.S. conducted and carried out this operation in the middle of the night. I want to pull up the president's Truth Social post one more time, if we can read it really quickly. He said President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. Mr. Trump said the operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow, he said, calling it a large-scale strike, saying that the United States of America had successfully carried it out. And now, Peter, as you've been talking all morning, more questions perhaps than answers, some of which we presume will be answered by the president at 11 a.m. during his news conference. But this just follows months of escalation in the region. We saw the first strike against alleged drug boats happen back in September. Since then, more than 30 strikes have been carried out by the U.S. military on boats around the Venezuelan coast there that they say have been trafficking illicit drugs consisting of cocaine. And in some cases, the administration had argued fentanyl, and that, of course, has been the driver of the U.S. aggression of their policy in this region. This happened and started a couple of months ago, Peter, but has only escalated since. This week, we have seen additional strikes on these boats. We have seen in recent weeks the U.S. seize what they say are oil tankers carrying sanctioned illicit oil over the last couple of weeks off that Venezuelan coast. And we also saw for the first time in the last week a strike on land, on a port. That was announced by the president, of course, before this operation to remove Nicolas Maduro, the regime leader there, and his wife. The question now is, where have they been taken to? What happens next? These are questions as well, Peter, that lawmakers are asking even in these early mornings. We know that Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who even in his time as senator has long been against the Venezuelan regime that they say have been conducting narco-terrorism and trafficking in the region. Rubio even a couple of weeks ago saying that Maduro is not to be trusted. There are no deals that can be made there. The question now for lawmakers, Democrats and Republicans, is, was this an act of war? We know that Article 1 authority lies within Congress to conduct and to announce and to decide whether the U.S. will be going into war. We know that Rubio has been working the phones all morning, Peter, trying to assure and assuage lawmakers, at least Republicans we know that he spoke to, including some in the Gang of Eight, this coveted group of 8 lawmakers that represent the intelligence committees, the leadership of Congress, and trying to assure them that this is a response that they needed to take here in this action in Venezuela, Peter.
Julie, we have heard from the President of the United States, the New York Times reporting that they spoke to him briefly by phone this morning as well, where he said, among other things, that this was, in his words, a brilliant operation. Actually, he said a lot of good planning and a lot of great troops and great people. We're also hearing from the Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah, who says he has spoken with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Walk us through a bit more of what we have heard from him. It's significant for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is he says that Rubio told him that the strikes today were part of an effort to protect U.S. personnel from an actual or imminent attack, and that the strikes were deployed to protect and defend those executing the arrest warrant on the ground.
Yeah, essentially a justification for why they had to go in and use military force. Mike Lee, I've covered him for years. He is a constitutional lawyer by trade. This is a matter of great concern for him and Republicans like him, that the administration might have acted in an unlawful way. Mike Lee, originally the senator from Utah, posting on X saying that he wants to know the reason, he wants to know the justification from the administration. He followed up on that post once he spoke to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as you said, saying that the administration was justified in using kinetic force to conduct this operation because as you said, Mike Lee said that Rubio told him that this was something they had to do to protect the forces on the ground. That's the justification that they use. Similarly, did we just hear from Senator Tom Cotton, who is the top Republican on the Intelligence Committee, who said that that was similar reasoning that the administration had used. But it is so notable that just a couple of weeks ago, Peter, Congress had its first fulsome briefing from Secretary of State Rubio, from Pete Hegseth, as well as Secretary of Defense, a couple of weeks ago, where they took lawmakers in a closed-door setting where they answered their questions about these operations. What they did not tell them in that moment, Peter, according to Republicans and Democrats that I spoke to, was what was the goal of this operation? Was their ultimate goal to take Maduro out for regime change? Senator Lindsey Graham, for example, telling me that was explicitly the question that he asked and one that he did not get answered. Democrats, meanwhile, Peter, have been saying all morning, posting on X, that they walked away from that meeting with the knowledge that the administration would not take this step, and yet here you are. We have this, the Trump administration conducting this major operation, according to the president, overnight, answers of which we still don't have many questions. The president told the New York Times as well this morning, Peter, that he will answer some of those questions, including the justification that they used and what happens next in just a couple of hours from now at a press conference.
Yep, the president late last year saying that Maduro's days were numbered. Among the questions right now, was this a negotiated exit? Questions we hope to answer at 11 o'clock in that news conference. Julie Sirkin there in Florida for us.
Sunday night, the president doubled down.
We're going to run it, fix it. We'll have elections at the right time.
And asked who's in charge.
I'll give you an answer, and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
We're in charge.
And on whether American troops will be on the ground in Venezuela.
Depends on what happens.
That being said, we see what Trump said. Trump said that the U.S. would not be running Venezuela. And as we know, I mean, we know for a fact that Venezuela, they profit a lot off their oil. And I'm going to end up bringing that up later, too. But we finna go ahead and see what the Venezuelan people have to say about this. The capture of Maduro, the one that's on their side and the one that's not. So let's get it.
Still smouldering at daybreak in Caracas on Saturday, as residents expressed shock after the U.S. strikes hit military bases in Venezuela and removed President Nicolas Maduro. Many people stayed home as Venezuelan security forces patrolled the streets. Of those who were out, some express hope of political change, while people like Baker Franklin Jimenez concerned that this will create an even worse conflict than the one we have now, and that we all have to go out into the streets to defend our homeland, to defend ourselves. But excitement is in the air for supporters of the opposition, led by Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado outside the country. Venezuelans celebrated in Peru, with people like Milagros Ortega talking of returning home.
My dad, being a political leader in Venezuela, was able to see this change. He used to say, "Daughter, when you go back, when this government leaves, you'll return to Venezuela." And to know that my dad in his lifetime was able to see the fall of Nicolas Maduro, look, for me it's an emotion. I would like to see his face.
Since 2014, around 7.7 million Venezuelans have left the country, according to the UN International Organization for Migration. Venezuelans living in Spain also rejoiced at Maduro's capture, while they tried to get hold of friends and relatives still in the country. Some of them are sheltering at home. A few other people in Caracas went out to stock up on essentials. Some of them are concerned that they may now have to hunker down for a prolonged period, uncertain of what is to come.
Venezolanos, llegó la hora de la libertad. Nicolás Maduro desde hoy enfrenta la justicia internacional por los crímenes atroces cometidos contra los venezolanos y contra ciudadanos de muchas otras naciones. Ante su negativa a aceptar una salida negociada, El gobierno de los Estados Unidos ha cumplido su promesa de hacer valer la ley.
La noticia de que Nicolás Maduro ha sido capturado para nosotros nos llena de profunda alegría. Alegría porque es la persona que ha estado detrás de las muertes, que ha estado detrás de las torturas, incluso hasta el día de hoy, que ha estado detrás de los secuestros de muchos extranjeros también en Venezuela, que ha estado detrás de la hambruna que ha habido en Venezuela, de todo lo que puede haber. Cuando dices Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro ha sido el artífice de eso.
Y vamos a estar aquí luchando hasta que nos devuelva a Nicolás. Porque el señor Trump, usted es un imperialista, un hombre malo, que donde quiera siembra muerte, desidia. Y que viva Chávez, que viva Nicolás Maduro.
Every side. We've seen President Trump's side, we've seen the Venezuelan side, and we've seen the news side. The only thing I would have to say about it, it's obvious that the Venezuelans who really celebrated Maduro capture is the ones that spread it across that left of Venezuela. So the ones that's in Argentina, Argentina, Madrid, Rome, Peru, and other countries that the Venezuelans are in. They the ones who really the most celebrating Maduro capture. So I don't know what it was like for them to experience to live under Maduro reign or whatever it was like. But that lady, as you can see, that lady was saying she was crying because she was saying her and I think it was her parents that was living under Maduro. Really, maybe she was always in Peru because she was saying that her father was like once Maduro get captured, you can go back and live in Venezuela because I guess it would be better. So, and then with that being said, on the other side, we only seen one lady. She can't be the only lady though, but we only seen one lady that's mad about Maduro being captured and calling a Trump an imperialist and stuff like that. So, with that being said, the only thing I got left to say now, to show now, is the oil takers and see how much oil. Approximately, it's a guess. Because I'm finna look on Google, but to see how much oil that to see how much money that Venezuela make off their oil tankers in a year. Let's get it.
Hours apart, including a Russian-flagged vessel, and tonight the new demand now coming in from the Kremlin. Authorities say both tankers are connected to Venezuela's oil trade. U.S. European Command says the Russian tanker was captured between Scotland and Iceland after spending weeks evading U.S. forces. And dramatic video tonight showing an elite Coast Guard team also boarding that second tanker, an oil tanker in the Caribbean. That ship is now being escorted to the U.S. And tonight, what the Trump administration is now saying about the Venezuelan oil now in its possession. Here's Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, the bold U.S. seizure of 2 oil tankers accused of transporting sanctioned Venezuelan oil, including a Russian-flagged vessel that had been evading U.S. forces for weeks. U.S. helicopters swooping in during a dramatic pre-dawn operation. Elite Coast Guard forces rappelling onto the deck of the Sophia, a tanker sailing in international waters near the Caribbean. Near Iceland, that Russian-flagged tanker seized, the Marinera, formerly known as the Bella One, being pursued by the U.S. Coast Guard. That vessel also linked to Venezuela's illicit oil trade, eluding capture for weeks after an earlier attempt to seize the ship in the Caribbean did not succeed. The crew hurriedly painting the Russian flag on the side of it, trying to deter a U.S. seizure. The Kremlin now demanding the safe return of that crew. The administration insisting this is all part of a larger plan to control Venezuela.
The way that we control Venezuela is we control the purse strings, we control the energy resources, and we tell the regime, you're allowed to sell the oil so long as you serve America's national interest. You're not allowed to sell it if you can't serve America's national interest.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio dismissing criticism from lawmakers who accused him of having no plan, today announcing a 3-phase proposal for the future of Venezuela.
It's not just winging it. It's not just saying or speculating it's going to happen. It's already happening.
Rubio calling phase 1 stabilization, which would include the sale of roughly 30 to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil. The White House saying the U.S. will share in the profits. Venezuelan state-run oil company confirming today it is negotiating that sale with the U.S. The second phase, according to Rubio, recovery, which will open up Venezuela's oil market to American companies and others. The last phase, Rubio says, is transition, though no specifics were provided. Some Democrats tonight blasting the proposal.
This is an insane plan. They are talking about stealing the Venezuelan oil at gunpoint for a period of time undefined as leverage to micromanage the country.
And David, tonight the world seeing those dramatic images of U.S. forces seizing those tankers, which the White House is saying will continue despite the rising tensions with Russia. David?
Martha Raddatz live in Washington.
So this is it right here. They say Venezuelans don't directly make money off of tankers. Rather, the state-owned oil company earns revenue from oil exports. Below production around 900,000 barrels per day in 2025. Heavy discounts due to sanctions and a reliance on shuttle fleets mean actual earnings are far below potential, which total exports around $4 billion in 2023. A fraction of past revenues, and many citizens earning extremely little despite vast reserves. So with that being said, I mean, I read something. As you can see, they say they only earning $4 billion by it's 2023. But I read something, I can't find it. I read something before. They said they used to earn $16 billion. And I cannot remember where I read that at, man. I tried to find it before, but yeah. It's part 2 of U.S. versus Venezuela. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.